again. Hi. Hi. Okay. Um, the last time I told you something about the difference between transsexual and transgender. You know now that transsexual is this and transgender is that. So you can call me both. Okay? You can label me as a transsexual or transgender. The last time I told you that definitions are very important up to a certain degree. That's true. You know. But of course, limiting or defining something is limiting it, okay, into this, into that. And that is very Western. How Western of you. Clearly, you can see here that I am anything but Western. So, if I would see this, distinctions, definitions, limitations from an Asian perspective, since I am very much proud of my heritage as a Filipina. I am from the Philippines, and therefore you cannot take the Asian out of me. Okay? So, if I am going to look at this from an Asian perspective, I would say the definition is important, but it's not everything. Hmm? Let me tell you a story to illustrate my view as an Asian person. We always ask, what's the difference between Western thinking and Asian thinking, or Eastern thinking? Let's use the word Eastern. It covers a lot more. Okay, so what's the difference between the minds of these two great cultures, the West and the East? There was once two very distinguished painters, and they come from the two great cultures, the Western culture and the Asian culture. They were commissioned by an emperor to make a painting for him. Now, when it was the time of the Westerner to paint, he fussed about the frame. The frame is this and that. It has to be this wide and this long. All those things. And there was a lot of fuss about it, about the frame. Then after making the fuss about the frame, then he was good enough to start his painting. Of course, within the dimensions that he specified for the frame. And then he started to paint. And the painting was really great. It was really fabulous. So the emperor was impressed. Okay, now, so he called upon the Eastern painter, and he told him, okay, you can begin now. Now that you know this is, I like this, and this is the template for the standard for you to beat or to even out. So the Easterner, when he was about to begin, he started to paint right away. And the emperor was baffled by this. He just painted and painted and painted away. He painted from this size of canvas until it became bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, until the whole painting covers the whole wall. And then, after finishing the painting, he started to make the frame. And he framed it. And that's how he ended. The king was overly impressed also. As you can see from the story, that's the difference between Asian and Western thinking. I do see Westerners fuss about limitations a lot. Hence, the need for them to define terms, to label. But nowadays, maybe you have noticed that the Eastern way of thinking has been influencing a lot of our young people, young minds. They will always say, think big, think out of the box, right? So that's more from the Asians, from the Easterners. We do think, just do it first, imaginatively, and then after that, start framing it. So the limitations do come later into that. So, why did I tell you this story? Well, just to even out whatever conceptions that you have made or preconceptions that you have made from my second post. Definitions are good. That's true when I said that. But it's not everything. For me at least. I am transsexual and transgender. That's true. But I also see myself, identify myself with my culture. And so you do not limit people like us, like me, to these two terms alone. For example, I mentioned the Native American culture. They call their transgender folks two spirits, which is very beautiful. And at the same time, this also goes for my culture too. We have various names for transgender folks, and as I said, transgender would include all these classifications, all these labels. It should include them. So two spirits. In my case, from the Philippines, we used to have priestesses, and this is from the indigenous culture, and we call them babaylads. And every now and then there would be cross-dressed babaylads, male to female cross-dressers, who would become priestesses as well and assume the role of the feminine. As you can see up there in my description of my vlog, you can see the warrias, the nats, the manangbalis. These are all Eastern labels of different manifestations of transgenderism all throughout the Eastern culture. For the Western context, if you are a Westerner, then transgender is the safest label for you. Okay, but if you do know the specific naming of transgenderism expressions in different cultures, then do use it because it's really good. So I hope you learned something again from this wonder vlog of mine, and I hope that next time you would be more, inclusive in your views about transgenders like me. So I'll see you next time again. Bye bye.